Hello, everybody. Welcome to Blog Talk Radio's Sales Professional Network. I am your host, Andre Harrell. This is Blog Talk Radio's first and only show dedicated to the needs of the sales professional. And regardless of the industry that you're in, if you're in the sales business, this channel and show is just for you. We do focus on topics that are relevant to all industries, and the commonality is that we in the sales business as sales professionals face similar challenges each and every day. And TSBN, the Sales Professional Network, sincerely was designed to come up and create a forum where we can discuss these challenges, come up with some solutions and best practices to meet those challenges. Tonight's show is brought to you by AH Square and Beyond Consulting. That's AH and the number 2 and Beyond.com, delivering beyond our clients' expectations in sales strategies, marketing, and sales training. AH Square and Beyond. Increasing your competency always means increasing your sales results. Tonight is just my thoughts on last night's show, which featured the heading, How do I increase my closing percentage? If you listened to last night's show, I want to say thank you so much for returning to get my thoughts on the subject tonight. If you did not hear last night's show, it is in our archive function here on Blog Talk Radio, so you can go to our channel and hear that show in its entirety. And, of course, all of our shows are now available on iTunes for free. So if you like to go there and download some of your favorite shows or even download tonight's show, it is available again or accessible for you there as well on iTunes. I'd like to also, of course, thank John Garrett, President, CEO of Facilities Management Advisors, LLC. And as I mentioned last night, John was one of the beginning guests on my show when I started the Sales Professional Network. He was great back then, and definitely he did not disappoint last night. John's prescriptive approach to increasing your closing percentage I thought was spot on. And I specifically enjoyed John's more customer-focused presentation when it came to the hows and ways to improve one's closing ratio. So again, big thanks to John Garrett, again, who I affectionately coined the king of closing the deal. Up front, folks, I want to confess that I'm not the end-all, be-all expert when it comes to the 100% correct approach to all of our challenges in the sales profession. I have enjoyed a great deal of success in my career as an individual sales contributor and a sales leader. And I've been in the sales business for many, many years. And having a forum like Blog Talk Radio, where I can share my experiences with you regarding, the good and not so good, has always been my purpose. And I personally receive a lot of growth and satisfaction from that. So with that, tonight, and again, as always, on my Afterthought shows, I'd like to take a different approach from what was examined during the previous night's show and provide you with some key things, you can do to ensure every single time you close, it's putting significant income in your coffer. During a small piece of our conversation last night, I raised a point that we as sales professionals really have to do a better job, identifying and understanding what the tangible and mental aspect of this customer buying cycle entails. In looking at the tangibles, when we talk about the customer buying cycle, I think many expect that to be, CRM processes that encompass, customer targeting, prospecting, territory management, the purchasing, ordering process, and so on. Our industry, the sales industry, invests a lot of time and, importantly, money in this space. And now, they have this new thing called cloud computing. And I'm not saying this is unwarranted. On the contrary, with the growth at a feverish pace of technology, any absence of any use of these types of resources really would put you at a disadvantage, especially among your competitors. So, however, I want to reiterate, these are resources that you have at your disposal as a sales professional to help you understand the customer buying cycle process. I think oftentimes, though, and we're all guilty of this, is that we utilize these tangible, customer buying cycle processes to address the mental and physical face-to-face interaction we have with the customer. This leads us to the mental aspect of the customer buying cycle. And first of all, I'd like to ask all of my sales professional compadres out there listening, do you know where you and your product and services are placed in your customer's mental buying cycle? Okay, here's the next question. How do you think they feel about you as their partner? And here's another question. Are you creating customer value in the minds and eyes, of course, of your customers? You know, asking yourself these questions and honestly addressing these answers, I think, will exponentially help your closing percentage. You see, when the proverbial cloud computing type technology settles, it's really your ability to connect, problem solve, and partner with your customers on a bit more intimate level. You know, I'm adamant when I say we spend far too much time on a machine in front of us to help us connect with the customer, when we should return to the old school basics of improving our innate and trained selling skills and selling acumen. One of the best quotes I received on this subject tonight, here's the quote. To increase your closing percentage, the answer is quite simple. Perform all the steps of the sales process prior to closing correctly. Closing is the natural outcome of the sales process, and done right and should be almost effortless. About 3 years ago, I was contacted by the VP of Sales of an organization that sells advertising for cable TV. He told me, you are highly recommended by the folks at the Cable Advertising Bureau. We're getting our people together for a 3-day conference, and I was wondering if you would come and spend a day with them teaching them on how to close better. My answer was sure. I can spend a day teaching them how to close. But what are we going to do with the other 7 hours and 55 minutes? Because how to close is a very brief conversation. That's a great quote, folks, and quite frankly sums up what I call the mental approach to understanding the customer's buying cycle and moving you a bit closer to developing a sound closing percentage. Okay, I'd like to leave you with some key takeaway points you can possibly consider when implementing a strategy to increase your closing percentage. You know, I've developed what's called a customer buying cycle process that you can utilize in any business, and I'll kind of go over the general overview of it. Number one, and this is the first step of the cycle, I call it overcoming customer unawareness. In this step, there's a great deal of tactical planning on your part as a sales professional. And sure, we talk about in this step the use of CRM processes. However, there is an abundance of customer interaction work that needs to be done in this step that coincides with the use of technology intelligence, as I call it. So there definitely has to be a synergistic compatibility with the two approaches in this phase of the cycle. Number two, the second step in the cycle is moving into what I call the customer awareness quadrant. This is where building the idea of creating customer value fits in, because the customer is conscious of you and your product, but hasn't really committed to buying it. And I love this part of the cycle because many sales professionals fall into this illusion that since I have a great relationship with the customer and they are aware of my product or services, they'll automatically buy. However, there was no value created. And by the way, customers love this cycle too because they can string you along as a sales professional with no intention on buying. Watch out for that. Okay. Number three, and the third step of the cycle, is what I call evaluation and trial. Now you've moved through the unawareness phase and into the awareness phase, and now you've created enough value with that customer that they are now ready to evaluate, or in some industries, trial your product or service. This is truly the problem-solving or partnering phase. Everything you've shared up until this point with the customer has to be spot on, because now they're going to test drive all of your pre-work messages which got you to this point. I call it, this is where the rubber meets the road cliche, and it definitely applies here. Sales professionals, make sure your planning and organization is stellar in this phase of the cycle. Number four, and the fourth step of this final cycle, is usage. Gaining a commitment to buy. The quote I read earlier in the show sums up this phase of the cycle well. This becomes a natural part of the sales process, and when executed correctly, should be almost effortless. This is truly the phase of the cycle, folks, that is the most rewarding, because both parties who have worked together through this entire process, and some of the things they agreed on and some things they didn't agree on, but in creating the true essence of creating customer value, I do believe this type of customer buying cycle generates an honest, integrity-generating win-win for the sales professional and the customer. Tonight's Afterthoughts show has been brought to you by AH Square and Beyond Consulting. That's AH and the number 2 and Beyond.com, delivering beyond our clients' expectations in sales strategies, marketing, and sales training. AH Square and Beyond. Increasing your competency always means increasing your sales results. And for those of you who are interested in learning how our customer buying cycle can help your business, please contact us. We'll sit down with you and evaluate everything from top to bottom, your CRM processes, training, selling skills, whatever you need to focus on bringing more value to your customer. And we'll come up with some ways to kind of help you build our customer buying cycle into your business. And it can really, I'm honest with you, and I'm truthful, can really help you and your customer increase your closing percentage even now and until the end of next year, and then to the life cycle of your products. And, of course, you can contact us at AH Square and Beyond Consulting. That's AH, the number 2, and Beyond.com. And our number is 267-221-8529. We had a program a few months ago about good health and stress, recipe for the sales professional. We received a lot of commentary regarding that show. We decided to replay that show for next Tuesday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now that we are moving closer into the holiday months, where many of us will be getting our food on, we thought re-airing of the show would be appropriate and good timing. So if you missed that show, we will be re-airing it next week. So you'll hear what's all the buzz about and why this show has received so much positive feedback. Again, that's good health and stress, the recipe for the sales professional. That's next Tuesday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, I want to thank all of you who have been dedicated listeners of the Sales Professional Network. Our numbers, again, continue to climb with the number of listens to our broadcast. And, of course, the downloads on iTunes have kind of gone through the roof. So thank you so much, and I'm humbled by your attendance. And I hope you do stay with us, and don't forget to tell your friends, colleagues, constituents, and that there's a show just for them on the net called the Sales Professional Network. And, of course, again, we're available on iTunes, so you'll be able to download some of your favorite shows on iTunes. And, of course, the downloads are free. So that's it. That's my thoughts on increasing your closing percentage. I hope you got a lot out of last night's show. And, of course, hope you got something out of my thoughts tonight, too, as well. And, again, if you're interested in learning more about our customer buying cycle and how it can help you personally and corporately increase your closing percentages, please contact us at ahsquareandbeyond.com. The number is 267-221-8529. That's it, everybody. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.